So here we are on day number 2, going to San Antonio Winery, and remarkably the bus is packed with people. Alright, we'll see when we get there.
Okay.
Okay, we're walking right in the winery here. Very nice shop here. Yeah. Okay.
Did you?
I did.
Now you're gonna ask me where's Ministry, right?
And we get to walk down and see the end of the parade. Of course, by then everyone's pretty tired, and the bands are a little bit out of tune. But it's a lot of fun. It's such a party. It's one of the things that makes Pasadena famous in the whole world, obviously. Well, this winery is also famous, and even if you haven't heard about it, we have been here for 107 years. The building is a historic landmark in the city of Los Angeles. And I'm going to tell you some of that history about the family that founded the winery, and then talk about where we make the wine. We can walk around a little bit if you want to. There's some wine making areas. If you don't want to walk, we don't have to, but I'm up for anything.
Where's the vineyard?
So there are no longer any vineyards in LA. And that's part of my story, so we're going to launch into that right now. So I said this building is a landmark. And the reason is because we are the last winery from a time when LA, Southern California, was capital of winemaking in California. And you didn't know that.
Oh,
Right? When you think about wine, you think Napa Valley, Sonoma, Santa
Temecula.
Barbara. You think all these other parts of Central and Northern California. You don't think LA. It all started right here. The very first commercial vineyard ever planted to sell wine was where Union Station is, the train station downtown, 190 years ago, way back in 1830. Now, they were making wine in California before then, but it was always associated with the Spanish missions for church. So the first commercial business vineyard, 190 years ago, downtown LA. Now, if you guys know your American history, this was still Mexico in 1830. It wasn't even American. So, skip ahead to 1900. 70 years later, wine is one of the largest industries in Southern California. There are vineyards everywhere. And in fact, downtown LA in 1900 had 90 wineries. 90 exactly. That's a big wow. It's shocking to even think that. That brings us to our founder. Now, I'm not going to make you get up now, but as you walk through this little entranceway, that's where we usually start the tours, and there's great photos. Take a look at those photos up there. But you walked past them as you came in, and on that wall, there's a great old black and white photo of our founder, Santo Cambianica, an Italian guy with a giant handlebar mustache. He came here in 1910 with his brothers from a little village in northern Italy, right outside of Milan, up in the mountains near the Alps. And these guys immigrated to America in 1910, settled in this neighborhood, and back then, this neighborhood was Little Italy. So if you're Italian in LA, you lived here. And these guys got work in the rail yard. So at the end of our street, same rail yard now. Back then, of course, it was all manual labor. They were loading and unloading boxcars, working with their hands, and after sitting a little bit. We're actually fermenting wine in there now. And so stainless steel is the state of the art. Most wineries will use that. It's easier to clean, and we can control the temperature, which is very important. So when we put juice in here and add yeast, it causes fermentation, right? And a whole bunch of stuff happens. It's a chemical reaction. But one of the first things, it starts to get hot. And that's a problem. Because the hotter it gets, the faster it ferments. And if you ferment your wine too fast, you get alcohol with no flavor. The flavor burns off with the CO2. So that's why you see aluminum band here. It has refrigerant in it. These are basically giant refrigerators. And in there I have white wine, temperature way down to 55 degrees, really cold, which slows everything down. Takes longer to ferment, but we retain those delicate fruit flavors for our white wine. Red wine's a bit different. Now we're getting technical. Red wine we fermented at 85 degrees. And the reason is, a lot of people don't know, when you squeeze a red grape, the juice is clear. If you have clear juice, how do you get red wine? The skins. So with red wine, you dump the skins in with the juice. And that's one of the reasons why we don't do red wine down here. Because if we were to do that, we'd have to truck the skins, which is a weight and a cost, and then they get disposed of. So we do them in Paso, and then the skins are used as fertilizer for the cattle ranchers up there, or to fertilize our own compost. So again, we don't throw the skins away. But with the skins in a tank like this, there's going to be 2 to 3 feet of skins floating at the top, and we call that the cap. And then you got to mix it around. So we either do pump overs, where we pump the juice over the top a few times a day, or different kinds of wine, it depends. Someone will stand up there with a plunger device and literally plunger and stir the skins. Now that's the old-fashioned way, of course. That's how they did it here. In Paso, it's all mechanized. They've got computer robots and computers controlling everything. But what you're doing with red wine, 85 degrees, a lot hotter, and you're agitating the skins into the juice, you're extracting color and flavor into the wine. So at 85 degrees, literally what's happening is the skins are breaking down, and microscopic particles are floating in the wine, giving it color and body. That's one of the reasons why red wine has more body than white wine. There's literally microscopic particles in there. And you can prove that. If you've ever seen a really old bottle of red wine that someone's had for many, many years, sometimes you see sediment at the bottom. We have to say, how did that sediment get in there? Well, what happens over many years, those little molecules recombine, they get too heavy and they fall out. So if you ever see that in an old bottle of red wine, it could still be a very good bottle, it's just old, and it's going to go from purpley red to brick red or tawny or brownish red. It's because the color pigment's going out. And the flavor profile will change. It will go from having bright fruit flavors along with the wood and whatever else is in there to cooked fruit or stewed fruit, or like the difference between a grape and a raisin. And then you start to get more earthy flavors start coming out in your wine. So it's still a good wine, it's just a different flavor experience. So we're making wine in here right now, and that wine will ferment for a few days, could even be a few weeks, depending on the style of wine. Let's go see it in the room. They have a special wine name for that hole. It's called the bung hole.
Bun hole?
I'll leave it at that. No, these are for decoration. It's called the bung hole. So, like I said, not all wine is aged in barrels because of the cost, for one, $1,300 a barrel. So anytime I put wine in that barrel, the wine has to pay rent. And the cost of the bottle goes up. A barrel-aged wine is going to cost. What it sounds like. all day long. The guys have to wear earplugs. And it's like watching an episode of How It's Made. That fun TV show. I love that show.
Yes.
So it's a lot of fun to watch. But they load empty bottles. They go into that room, and there's a machine that puts in the wine, the corks, the cap, the label, and then the bottles drop into the boxes.
Some of the history of winemaking in the LA, Ontario area.